Am I ready? Yes, I am. We're here early. This is why you got to get notifications. You got to not only you like it, but you got to subscribe to it because Chad and I are here early for an overreaction Monday. People are going to overreact and say, why the hell y'all going so early, Chad? But guess what? It's a game week, Chad, and things change in a game week, right?
8 a.m. class. Professor Richardson says there was a class. I had to get up. I got my backpack. I put my books in there. I hit the cafeteria early. I'm ready to go.
We are there. I dropped off my kid at elementary school. I already know about this early stuff. Did the drop off line. I wasn't going to drop you off, Chad, because it's game week. We're going to have a media availability at around 10 o'clock this morning. I think Sark is he at an 11? Did it say on that email, Chad?
Yeah,
or
11 o'clock.
Around 11 o'clock. And so we got players. We have a practice availability at around 3:20ish or so today, Chad. That should make Alex happy. And so we have that. But Chad, the thing I was thinking about, and what about this a little bit on Sunday? I say a little bit, a lot of it on Sunday. This sets up, we weren't quite sure. Like a few weeks ago, I had asked people, hey, is this going to be Quinn's last game in DKR? And they said, well, it all depends on if we host a first round game or not. And so lo and behold, Texas is hosting a first round game in DKR. And so now it becomes like, it looks like this for all intents and purposes, this will be Quinn's last game in DKR because after this, Chad, it's the Peach Bowl, and then it's the semifinals, and then it's back to Atlanta. So I wanted to have a Quinn conversation with you today. 3 years in, I kind of want to get your thoughts about where Quinn is at, what he's accomplished, and maybe then also have the conversation about what this game kind of means towards his overall legacy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's massive, Anwar, and you do the math correctly, I think, and I'm reading through your Sunday pulpit thinking about it, like it has to be his last game at DKR. For whatever is about to happen, this is going to be it. And so it's going to be like an extra senior day for him. He went through the senior day stuff. What was that? The Kentucky game. But now you're talking about a historic game, a game no Texas quarterback has ever taken a snap in, a playoff game at home, just a truly unique beast. And now he's got a chance to wave goodbye to those fans one more time. Now, Anwar, these are very, very educated fans. We know. They know what this bracket is, and they know what it's not. This is not your normal 5 seed. They are playing 2 teams. Theoretically, the first 2 opponents are teams that should be seeded like 9 to 12 if we just purely seeded this thing. Texas fans expect their team to beat Clemson, and they certainly expect their team to beat Arizona State. So ultimately, he's got to get through those 2, I think, to live up to, to hit that standard and get back to the semifinal. But, what you don't want, obviously, is a nervous DKR. You don't want a couple of those moments from the Kentucky game where it's like the turnover moment from Kentucky when that ball went the other way and all of a sudden a game that you thought wasn't supposed to be a game turned into a game out of nowhere. Quinn doesn't need those moments, but it's a huge opportunity for him. Simply put, Anwar, I think he's the guy that got Texas out of the woods. Is he going to ultimately get him to, the castle? I don't know. He's the guy that got him out of the woods, and he has a real chance to I think, solidify that with the fans on Saturday.
One of the things that I kind of, wrote about, I'm going to go through this list because sometimes I felt like over the last couple of months, I think there's been a lot of focus on it. Like, well, Quinn's not this, or Quinn's not that, or Quinn's not this, or Quinn's not that. And then it's sometimes, Chad, it's like, I say, like, sometimes you got to appreciate the things that you have. It's just, so let me go through the list of quarterbacks who have committed to Texas since 2009. Okay. Garrett Gilbert in 2009. 2010, you have Case McCoy and a kid by the name of Connor Wood. Do you know who Connor Wood is by any chance?
Hang on. Let me see if I can do this. Connor Wood. Maybe it's just the name making me say this. Was he from the Woodlands?
No, I'm asking you. I don't know.
No? Oh, no. For some reason, I want to say the Woodlands, but it might be his last name. So
I can tell you in 2010, covering the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I was not concerned on the 2010 signing class of Texas. So you would have to tell me who Connor Wood is with Case McCoy. 2011, they get David Ash, which was kind of the 8-win years, essentially, the 7-win years, kind of there a little bit. 2012, Connor Brewer.
Ooh, okay.
2013, Tyrone Swoops, who did the previous staffs, so we're talking Mac Brown, thought he might be the next VY. That was the comparison, which, as we see, there was no need to ever make that comparison. You know the thing that always threw me off about Tyrone? I never understood how in the senior year that team went 1-9. It was always a concern for me because I always thought to myself, and I know Tyrone's sitting on the couch like, why am I catching strays today? But I always just thought to myself, hey, I've seen quarterbacks, high school quarterbacks, will their teams to 5-6 wins just easily. So I thought, 1 win? You know what it's like to me, Chad? You know what it's like to me? You know, I've always wanted to do, can I tell you what my secret documentary idea has always been?
Sure.
I've always, when you see a high school game and they show you that they beat someone like 104 to like 2 or 104 to 4. I always want to do a documentary on how the 2 points or the 4 points were scored.
Oh, right. Just dig into that losing team, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It just, how did they get the 2 points? Like, I'm always fascinated. I'm more fascinated about the 2 than the 100. Just
right. And did the guy that created the safety get the game ball in the locker room? Like, did that happen?
Yes, like all that. With basketball, any of these sports, when someone just gets massacred, I've always wanted to go to the losing side and do a documentary on, well, how did they score those 2 points or 3 points, whatever it is. Okay, so then 2014, they get Gerard Hurd, which at the time, with the success that Gerard was having in high school, everyone thought this was going to be a huge pickup, a huge get for them. Ends up not being. It ends up being, at the end of the day, Tyrone Swoops moves to tight end in college, and Gerard Hurd becomes a receiver. Like that, those two things happened, Chad.
That happened. That did happen. Yep.
2015, they get Matthew Merrick and Kai Loxley.
Whew, yeah. Yeah.
2016, Chad, we go to Shane Buechele.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, so you're getting a little bit warmer. A little bit warmer. Again, at the time, Shane, I think Shane's still in the NFL at this moment. But Shane Buechele was also the quarterback of a 5-7 team that lost to Kansas. And he threw 3 interceptions in that game. So that will also be on his tombstone as well. Now, 2017 is when it starts to get better. Okay? I think 2017 is the ray of light because it's Sam Ehlinger.
Yes.
You get to Sam, and now all of a sudden, there's definitely more help. There's more help when that thing is concerned. Now, Sam had to battle a lot of injuries, but Sam is the guy that you say, okay, he led the Sugar Bowl. No matter all the jokes that came after the Sugar Bowl, Chad, the Sugar Bowl still happened. That was still an iconic moment for Texas and Texas fans to be able to go to New Orleans and then pull out that victory. And then you go Casey Thompson and Cam Rising, both who are still probably playing in college football at this moment.
Cam Rising, he will find a loophole to keep playing.
Cam is not leaving college, man.
Nope.
After 8 years, you got to ask someone this real quick. After about 8 years or so in college, what degree should you have by then? 4 years for your bachelor's, another years for your master's, right?
He should have like a Double PhD, double masters, I think is what he's got to have. You got to have at least 2 masters and at least 2 PhD. You got to be a double doctor. Double doc is what you got to have.
2019, they get Roschon Johnson committed. Again, good high school player. When it's all said and done, Roschon switches to running back.
Yeah, pretty damn good one too.
Really good run.
Yeah.
But Roschon actually saw the writing on the wall early and thought, I don't think this quarterback thing is going to work out for me. I'm going to go ahead and switch. You get Hudson Card, Jaquindon Jackson in 2020. Mm-hmm. You get Charles Wright in 2021.
Austin High.
And then Austin High's own Malik Murphy in 2022. So it starts getting better 2022 because of Malik Murphy, and then obviously Quinn comes in. But when you start talking about that list is almost a quarterback purgatory.
Yeah, that
Texas was in from 2009 up until then. I'll say this and I'll shut up. What Quinn was able to do, I think, accelerating the program to get it to where it is today, I don't think that's something that should be underappreciated when it's all said and done.
No, and as you fleshed out in your article this week, and people check out orangebloods.com and the Sunday Pulpit every Sunday, it's the idea, I think, of how highly rated Quinn Ewers was. And that era you're talking about, it had some moments, but it didn't have any like badass, the whole country was paying attention kind of guys. And that's what Quinn Ewers is. And as you point out in the article, it is also what gets a guy like Arch Manning to even think about it, to even consider it. Like Quinn Ewers is graded so highly out of high school. The only guy to compare him to was Vince. Like it was that big a deal. So that's part of why I say he's the one that kind of gets him out of the woods of craziness in terms of the quarterbacks. And then you can have the conversation about, obviously what we've seen on the field with Quinn, but he's helped to, bring the sort of quarterback gradability part back to where Texas fans feel it needs to be. And then Anwar, he got on the field and he's shown you some big time moments, which a lot of those other guys just didn't have. They didn't have records like that. They didn't have a trip to the playoffs. They didn't have a conference championship game and then play in another one. I mean, he's put up a resume that gets you back to where the Texas quarterback should be in the fans' mind and in college football's mind. That's who he is. We'll see how it finishes, but ultimately, I think that is who he is. He's brought substance back to this position where it had not been there. It was what you just described was the valley of just no substance. It was like a valley full of cotton candy, except for like a little bit of the Sam Ehlinger cotton candy was good for you somehow, right? Yeah. A little bit of protein in the Sam Ehlinger cotton candy. It was organic cotton candy. Everything else was you're laying on the ground holding your stomach kind of cotton candy through that whole period.
And you know what's interesting about the 2018 season, Chad? Texas lost 4 games that year. It took a lot to actually get to 10. They lost to Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game. They get fortunate because Oklahoma then advances to the playoffs. And so that gave Texas kind of an opportunity to play in the Sugar Bowl against Georgia, a game that they didn't want to be in. Remember? Yep. They didn't want to be there, Chad.
Yep. And that's it. Those qualifications have to be made, Anwar. When you talk about the real story of that game, I think both sides have to be discussed. The Georgia part of it where they would have been distracted, but also the Texas part of it you just brought up, that they kind of got slotted up into that game. Did they actually put a season out there that would have validated a Sugar Bowl berth?
No.
Probably not.
No.
But they ended up in the game. All those things must be discussed, I think.
Yes, yeah. So it ends up being an iconic moment, like a win's a win, you take it, right? But it wasn't what we've seen the last 2 years, where we've seen Texas from start to finish go out and handle their business. they got fortunate there. And again, I joke about Georgia not wanting to be there. I don't know how you go through a month of bowl preparation when it's like time for practice, and guys like, man, I don't want to be here. I mean, I'm sure you had to have practiced, right? I don't want to, you don't want to be there. All right, okay, that sounds convenient, right? But that means that was the high, and then the following year, Texas wins 8 games, right? And so, we go through this battle with Quinn and Hudson Card, right? And what was that going to be, and so on and so forth. And really, after year one, I mean, you saw it. You saw it. I started to say you saw the flashes in that Alabama game where Quinn got hurt. Like that Bama game at home when Quinn got hurt, he was on fire. Absolute fire. Absolute fire. Texas comes like a bat out of hell, and you're saying to yourself, man, and you see how well the defense played throughout that game where you said to yourself, yeah, this is a game that Texas could win. And woulda, shoulda, coulda, it didn't. He got hurt. But then he comes back, and then 49-0 happens, Chad. That's what I got back here. Wow. 49-0 happens against Oklahoma, right? Mm-hmm. So the conversation about Quinn is interesting. It's fascinating for me right now, right? Because when we look at where Texas, I hear the criticisms about Quinn, Chad, right? But then I look at where Texas is right now, and I say to myself, well, they've got 2 losses to a Georgia team that, if we're being honest, I thought Quinn played pretty well in the second game. I don't think the second game was a Quinn game where you say to yourself, okay, they lost this game because of Quinn. There's drop balls, offensive line got manhandled. I mean, there's a running game wasn't there. And I'm thinking, I don't put it on Quinn. And I just wonder, Chad, when it's all set, when it's done, DKR, what do you think the Texas fan on Saturday, like their reaction to Quinn is going to be? Is it dependent on how the outcome of the game? I mean, people take a step back.
I mean, I think it will be Anwar again. This is a highly educated fan base. I always say sometimes they're even too realistic about things. They know what they've watched. It's hard to fool them. And I think they're going to need to see, maybe it's not what's the line, 11-ish? I think it may need to be like a comfy multiple score win where Quinn does not make mistakes, where he does not feel like a liability. Texas fans don't want to see that kind of quarter like he's shown them, and especially not 2 of them. If he does all that, and, oh, by the way, they run the ball. Anwar, when you can express your runs per carry, your yards per carry with one finger, that's not good, but that's what it is against Georgia. Like, if you're a Texas fan, you just got to hope the biggest problem you've seen is you just can't block Georgia. Like, it could just be that simple. You can't block Georgia 1.1 yards per carry. Maybe you get to figure that out. Maybe you don't. But I think it's a comfy multi-score win. Quinn does good things. And I think at that point, DKR will be glad. I'm going to mean this both ways. They're going to be glad to say goodbye to him, and they're going to be glad to say goodbye to him. It's going to have both of those feelings because Texas fans are still processing this season. They knew the drama was there. They knew what soap opera they were seeing. Sark gave them a little taste that he probably wishes he hadn't in that first Georgia game, and Texas fans can't get rid of it. They can't. They can't get Arch out of their mind. No. And I understand that. I understand that because he is a big deal, and he's going to be, I think, a really big deal. But the realistic part of it, we knew once everything is played out, is this team's going as far as Quinn's going to take it. But I think that's what it'll take. Multiple score win, no big mistakes. I think then the fans will, send Quinn and that team off to the quarterfinals with a good feeling.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things. I see people in the chat saying certain things. I already addressed this last week. Quinn is not going. You can ignore these rumors about Quinn trying to go to another. Quinn Ewers is not transferring to another college. Like, get that out of your head. The only way that's happening if something bad happens, chat. The thing is, when you look at the 2025 NFL draft class, right? it's not deep when it comes to quarterbacks.
Right.
It just isn't. There's maybe two guys that you might rate ahead of Quinn. Shador, the kid out of Miami.
Cam.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
it. There's literally nothing else left. That still gives you an opportunity to get drafted in the first round. Like that's just there. So going to whatever school that you can name to then risk another injury to move up a few slots, no. That's just not. That's just not happening. That's not. I've talked to too many people that said that math ain't mathing. Now, sure, there's always going to be people that are interested in Quinn. I tell you what, though. Can I, Chad? I'll tell you something. Can I tell you a conspiracy theory? Are you a conspiracy theorist at all?
Sure. I'll take a conspiracy theory every
not?
once in a while.
The conspiracy theory behind the scenes, Chad, as I lean up in my chair to tell you this, right?
I like it.
One of the conspiracy theories I heard last week was, this information about Quinn going to another program, because we're not starting that. I feel like there might be some other programs putting that stuff out there to distract our team. Like that. That's the conspiracy theory right now. I haven't run with that because I don't want to make everybody seem like people in DKR have tinfoil hats and everything to that effect. But it's a theory that's out there. Chat. If Arch Manning wasn't sitting on the bench, would people be clamoring for there to be a QB replacement? Because you don't hear that. You don't hear that in Alabama. And Jalen Milroe has had some stinker of games this year. I mean, he's for whatever people want to say about Quinn. He didn't lose against Vanderbilt. Okay, he didn't lose, and that didn't happen. And they lost. He didn't lose against Oklahoma. I mean that didn't happen either. That happened twice under that quarterback. And it's funny to me, Chad, because I saw some, like, one of my neighbors on Saturday came and said, they were like, hey man, yeah, big game going to be next week. I'm like, it's next week, Clemson. They go, so who's going to start? Who you guys starting at quarterback? I go, why? Who asking me this? And there's people. People will still think there's an opportunity. Is it simply just because of the name? Because I feel like if it wasn't Arch Manning and it was just Arch Monroe, I don't know if people would be clamoring for like a quarterback change.
Well, and it's also interesting that we know there are two injuries that have been at play for Quinn this season, but you're not seeing them in these last couple games. You're not feeling those injuries to the point of like, oh my God, like when Dak Prescott made a throw this year and everyone and their dog saw he was hurt as he threw that football. Quinn has not been that. That run against A&M showed you, oh, okay, I guess the ankle looks pretty good. And even though certainly the reporting was out there from yourself, of course, about maybe that oblique thing had come back to visit, I don't know if we've seen a moment, Anwar, where we go, oh, there it is. There it is. Mm-hmm. So to that person that asked you, I would say it's not silly, but it's just one of those where like, well, I haven't seen the injury part. And that apparently is what it would take. At this point, it's going to have to be the injury would take him out, for Sark to think about going to Arch Manning. So that, but again, this is the weird little soup that Sark has come up with. And to answer your question, Anwar, no. If Texas fans if they didn't have Arch Manning on that bench, would they be reacting the same way? God, no. It wouldn't even be close because not only do they have him, Anwar, they got a big taste. Mm-hmm. They did. They got the exact taste that Quinn didn't want them to get, but he got hurt. And Arch got to play against the really good teams, Chad? Nope. Against the not really good teams. So in a way, you weren't going to see the absolute truth. And the only time we saw Arch against an absolutely good team, they kind of panicked. They threw him out there, but nothing really happened. And
don't forget, but we can't forget that he did throw 2 interceptions against La Monroe, right? It's about what you want. It's about what you want to see, because Yeah, he came in and he looked like a bat out of hell versus UTSA. And this is not anything against Arch. Clearly, Arch is going to be that dude. I'm just talking about this season, right? Yes, UTSA happened and he had an ungodly passer rating. And then La Monroe happened the next week, and you're like, oh, well, that's okay. And then of course he finishes out and he looks good against Mississippi State. He gets the opportunity versus Georgia, and he's 3 of 6, for 19 yards in that game.
Yeah,
and
it felt so sloppy. Like just looking back on it, it felt like such a sloppy idea. And after the game to say, I just wanted to clear my quarterback's head. Okay, so you didn't put the quarterback in that you thought could win the game. You just wanted to clear your starter's head, have him hand off 6 times, and then get back to work. What you did cannot be, to me, I'll always say this. The way it worked out, well, that can't be your decision then, because you've extra confused your fan base. Because now your fan base is well, wait a minute. We now saw a situation where you put Arch in, but it didn't really feel aggressively putting Arch in. And now you've backed off of it. So hopefully we don't have to see that situation. Hopefully Texas fans aren't going to have to watch that drama play out, Anwar. And if they lose, all I'm hoping for the rest of this season for Texas is that they lose for football non-Quinn reasons.
Mm-hmm.
If they're going to lose, let's let it be just good old X's and O's, but it's not about number 3, because I don't think he deserves that. I hope he gets a good path out, to finish up at Texas. But we all know it doesn't work that way sometimes. Like the drama will find you. And especially when you're talking about the Texas quarterback room, drama loves that room.
Yeah.
Drama just digs it. So we may be in for a little bit more. And because we all know if there's a tip ball interception early against Clemson and Clemson goes up 3-0 or 7-0, that place is going to grumble. And it's going to take that long. It will not take time. It will not develop. It will occur instantly. There are fans in the chat right now that think Arch is the better plan today, yesterday, 4 months ago. From the start of the year, they'll claim, I knew it the whole time, Chad. They should have been playing 16. They're going to tell you that. And Quinn does not need one of those moments to stoke that fire on Saturday afternoon. Man, I'm hoping for him. They run the hell out of that ball, and he looks great. And they bust Clemson up a little bit.
I know we had a super chat that came in. I think you already pinned that one, Chad. So
yeah, let's throw
Oscar.
Yeah, $4.99. Oscar, what's up, man? I hope you're having a good morning. Give me football. All I want is football. Also, PFF has Quinn as the lowest graded quarterback in the playoff. Cade is top 5. Fair or unfair?
The lowest out of all of them? Like out of all 12?
Out of all 12 quarterbacks, lowest grade.
Is that? Have you seen this? I haven't seen this.
I've not seen the list. But Anwar, to this point, I could, without looking, I guess I could understand it, because Quinn has kind of been like, he's like when you're dating that person that in a span of 2 days will give you like the best date you've ever had and will help your mother out with something. And the next day they barge into your office and cuss your boss out. Like
that's a hell of an analogy.
Like it averages out to some pretty good numbers. Like when you look at Texas pass efficiency in the country and different things like that. But Quinn has given you these quarters of he's had a quarter or two of, maybe not 2. I think he's had 1 quarter of like negative rating. He's had ratings, below 100. Jeff Ketchum has laid it all out for us as the season's gone by. And some of those numbers are scary. So Oscar, I could believe it if I think through all 12 of these guys, considering what the bad has been for Quinn, I could understand how he might end up on that list. But I have not looked at it. I haven't seen it myself.
Well, I'm looking at their quarterback rankings. Okay. I gotta pull up all the teams that are actually in the playoffs. All right, so let me pull up the playoffs, and I might be able to do this real quick. If it starts to struggle, then I'll totally just abort this mission. All right, so So I see. All right, so I see Indiana. I see ranked here. I see Oregon, Dylan Gabriel at 13. I see Sam Levitt. So that's 3. I see Cade Klubnik. That's 4. I see Notre Dame, Riley Leonard. Okay, that's 5. Let's keep going. Penn State, Drew Aller. So we got 6.
Right.
Okay. So he might. All right, here we go. The BYU is not in there.
You see SMU yet?
I saw SMU already.
Okay.
Yeah, at 34.
And then, so real quick, Mike's bringing up a question. Gunnar Stockton is ranked higher. He can't be ranked higher because he wouldn't be ranked, right? He hadn't played enough. So, yeah, Mike, that's a good. Yeah. So of the ones that would have a ranking, so it's probably.
Well, okay, yeah. I mean, they've got Quinn ranked at 149, so I don't have to go much further than that then.
Right. And to be fair, we still don't know. We got a long time before Georgia plays. We don't know who their starting quarterback's going to be. Beck's an interesting thing, obviously, with that injury, but, Beck's given you moments this year, like Quinn. We talked about it going into that second game, Anwar, when Carson Beck has gone bad this year. It's been weird bad. It's been some is that going to cost him a game kind of bad? And by the way, it did.
It did. Right? It did.
It cost them multiple games. So, those numbers, and again, those are numbers it's hard for Texas fans to ignore, and I don't blame them. They know what they've seen. I'm not going to be one to lie to them and tell them that, because you can't lie and say Quinn's been awesome, but you also can't lie and say he's been horrible, because he hasn't been either of those things, in my opinion. He has lived between. He's in the gray area between those two things. He'll give you moments that make you think, oh, look out. How many guys can make that throw? And then he'll give you moments where it's like, wait, huh? What are you doing? And that's who he's been.
You want to tell the good people about Rogue? Take me off the screen for a second.
Yeah, let's do it, because I thought I would throw up a little bit of this cool website. If you guys haven't seen it, in fact, I'll make it. There you go. The website should be bigger than me, right? Because it's definitely cooler than me. Look at all this. Look at this. We talk about the guys that tell you about Rogue. They tell you about how much fun it is. Look at this website. All this cool stuff. Just going to look at all the scroll. All your little Christmas ideas are waiting for you, including miscellaneous jewelry. Come on now. All kinds of cool stuff. Hit the website, rogueshop.com. Look at this. They show you the little hot icons. Tell you what's popular. They got some cool videos going here where scientists are at work. You can learn more about it. You can subscribe to the newsletter. There's all kinds of stuff going on, and you can check out all the little reviews. Look at these 5-star reviews down here. Rogue is fantastic. Yeah, when I had questions, they popped up. That's the other thing Catch always talks about. They're active in the chat. They will help you out. If this is maybe your first time to check out Rogue, you can, get the information. Thanks to Rogue for being such a great partner of Orange Bloods Live. And they do sponsor the Overreaction Monday show with normally Catch and Anwar. Let's send our man Jeff Ketchum some very good thoughts. A sickness has been going through the house at the Ketchum place. His wife got sick last week, and then one of the kids got sick. My theory is y'all know how this works. The kids bring it home, man. Yeah. The kids go to school, Anwar. They're around all kinds of weirdness. And kids, for whatever we do with kids, here's one thing we know. They all touch water fountains. All of them do.
They'll all touch water fountains, and they do not cover their mouths. You know the worst thing about a kid, Chad, is that you said Catch. It's this thing right here. That you're a parent, you'll understand this, and everybody who's a parent has seen this before. It's like there's no this, there's no covering, there's no this. It's just
yeah.
It's
funny. My daughter's 18 now, Anwar, and she's been so trained in this era that she's real good about the elbow, right? So she gets on my wife about coughing into her hand. Because my wife and I, we're old school, right?
Yeah.
My wife and I look at her like, at least we're covering it with something, But you're right.
If you're real old school, you would have your handkerchief, Chad.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, by the way, That's a really gross era of time when you really think about the handkerchief.
Oh.
I'm going to blow my snot into this cloth and then just put it right back into my pocket. Like that,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep carrying it around.
And then the really sick part is, like, if my granddad or great uncle, whoever it was, if they go into that pocket, Anwar, and they pull out the handkerchief and there's like actual pieces of hard candy stuck to it, and I know there's spare change in that pocket, like that's nasty. That's nasty, dude. Like, wait a minute, you just mixed that with old peppermint and old nickels. Thanks, Granddad. Appreciate you.
You remember they used to? You remember they just? And it was like a thing. It was like boom. They just pull it out like haha, like a magic thing. It's like you tuck it back in. You're like, you just put snot right all over your. What are you doing? Like, they grew up in an era where that was normal, Chad.
Yeah, the grossest, coolest thing ever is what it is. That is exactly what it is.
By the way, I've always wanted to. When I was a kid, I thought what was cool, but might be to smoke a pipe. And
me too. Yeah, I
never
love the way that
smoked
looked.
a pipe, but I always used to think smoking a pipe would make you like really cool.
Yeah, I had one of my friends that lived across the street had a dad that smoked a pipe, and I always thought the smell around him I thought was great. I'm like, okay, this is what a man's supposed to smell like, right? This is what men smell like. This is what they look like with a pipe. This is fantastic. I never did it either, but for a while I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Okay, we had some more super chats come in.
Yes, we know the super chats are the coolest thing ever. Barb's 10 with a $5 super chat. Quinn versus Arch is first world college football problems.
Say it again.
And the management of it is dicey. Sark is in a no-win situation among Texas fans unless Quinn wins it all. Yeah, Barb's 10, kind of. Sark is part of this, Anwar. We haven't mentioned really Sark's element of, but we knew, I've said from day one all the way back to spring, all three of them had to be fixed on this thing. We know Arch is, but how Quinn and Sark deal with it is big. And, there are times where I don't think Sark does Quinn huge favors. And, I think Sark has to own up to some of that too. The play calling in the red zone and things we've talked about that they've got to, that's got to look good on Saturday afternoon because, hey, if Clemson rolls in there and wins, if Dabo outcoaches Sark, I mean, that's
Armageddon.
Right? Texas fans cannot handle that idea that this Dabo, without the portal, you got Makuba from him, and then he's going to come in here and beat you with Klubnik while the Westlake people watch. That just it can't happen.
That's Armageddon at that point.
Yeah.
Because the thing I disagree with Barb when he says Sark is in a no-win situation among Texas fans unless Quinn wins it all. I would disagree with that. I think if he loses on Saturday, then the gloves come off. Right. Yeah. I think once you start going down the line, like if you get to the semifinals, right, and you lose, I don't think all of a sudden Texas fans are going to say Sark sucks. You're not going to say that after a 13-win season, right? I mean, Texas. The thing I have to remind Barbs of, and Barbs, this is no disrespect. Like I say this as conversation. No matter what people say, Chad, Texas is 11-2. Like sometimes the conversation acts like Texas is some sort of 9-win team, 8-win team. Like Texas is going to go to the Armed Forces Bowl and let's see what happens. Like this is not Oklahoma, right? No. This is not Texas A&M.
Oklahoma's the one playing Navy, and I put it way back there, Anwar. It's way back there, Oklahoma and Navy. Yeah.
Did you see this? Someone speaking of Oklahoma, someone put this thing on Twitter about all the guys that they've acquired through the transfer portal versus the guys that they've lost. Have you seen this?
No, but
it is. Oh, hold on. I'm going to see if I can share this real quick. It's really fascinating. I don't know if this is 100% true or not, but I think this is. Hold on. Yeah. Let me show you this, Chad. Can you see this?
Yes.
Right. So someone put this in here. The OU transfer portal. Whoa. Incoming transfers, a punter, outgoing transfers.
See, it's extra impactful when the only thing coming in is a punter. Like that, as soon as they saw that, they're like, well, we got to make a graphic on this. This is
I had to bookmark it. 24 guys have gone out and they've had one kid come in. I mean, at this point, Chad, getting the punter is probably a smart idea. Sounds like you're going to need them. It sounds like,
yeah, you better be good.
What I'm seeing, this might be your most important acquisition.
Yeah, the one thing you're going to be doing, you're going to be punting. That we know that.
A lot. Was there another super chat that came into? I
feel like there was one. Yeah, there was one more here from Ruben. $5. Great show today on quarterback history. Complaints in Quinn have been unfair. On Quinn, maybe. How fun would it be if he has a Florida or Michigan game against Clemson? Now, that's what you need, Ruben. Those are two good games to mention. Florida, everything dialed in for Texas. Just a home stomping of another team. Now, that other quarterback was the guy from Yale that day. Like, we have to remember, Cade Klubnik's not that guy. So you're going to have another team, over there. But if the Texas defense holds like it's held and plays like it's played, you got a chance. You got a chance for one of those kind of games. The line, Vegas says that should be that type of game. And I think that's what most Texas fans are expecting walking in there, Anwar, is 10 or more. Let's just say it that way. Forget about the line for a second. Mm-hmm. It's 10 or more. It's you're beating them, 10-14. It's comfy. And we never have a moment of Clemson's going to win this game. Clemson has had some fantastic over the last few years. This is not a fantastic Clemson team.
Yeah, I was going to say that this is one of the thing that scares me. I feel like, Chad, when we start going in the world of like absolutes, you're like, man, this team ain't good. It almost seems like that's the setup for something like bad to happen. But to your point, when we go through Clemson, I think was looking through their schedule this year. The teams that they've beaten have been Appalachian State, North Carolina State, Stanford, Florida State, Wake Forest, Virginia, Virginia Tech, Pitt, Citadel, and really their best win was SMU. Just about a week ago, because they did lose to South Carolina. They lost to Louisville this year, and of course they got their ass kicked by Georgia to start off the year. SMU has probably been their best moment, but outside of that, so I don't know. I'm stuck, Chad, between the present and then me holding on to the Clemson of the past. Like, I haven't let go of the Clemson of the past, even though I know it's not the Clemson of the past. Like, I know what it's not, but there's this inward, I would say fear or hesitation where I just like, are they going to just go back in a time machine somehow, some way, and then somehow look a lot better than they have looked previously?
Well, I just think they can look pretty good. They just don't look as good as those teams. I mean, we saw a Clemson team that beat Alabama for a title, and then we saw one that whipped Alabama for a title. So we've seen some Clemson teams that are badass. I would just say everything you thought about the best Clemson team you've seen the last 10 years, just take everything down a notch. Bring everything down. Well, is it Trevor? No. Well, is it E.T.? No. Is it that receiver? No. Is it that corner? No. Just bring it all down. Just dial everything you're thinking about down. It's not all those guys. But, Anwar, if you make mistakes, if you're sloppy, look at SMU. How did SMU start that game? Blah, blah. And Clemson made them pay for it. There's enough talent that they like to force turnovers. Turnover margin, 5th in the country. Turnovers gained, 8th in the country. Fumbles lost, 6th in the country. They're a clean football team overall. First downs on offense, 2nd in the country. It's a pretty good what is it? 12 in total offense. This is no horrible offensive team, but they've also got a run game. The run games in this, everybody's going to talk quarterbacks, Anwar. I'll be the old man to talk run game. I don't trust either one of these run games. Don't trust either one. Clemson, when they needed to just churn it up against SMU, they couldn't protect a 17-point lead in the 4th quarter of a championship game. SMU comes all the way back. They need a kick return and a 56-yard bomb to win that thing. So that's the kind of stuff that doesn't impress me as a fan. You can't hold a 17-point lead. I'm not going to say you're great. The reason they couldn't hold it is that what's his name? Maffa, the running back. He's been banged up, and they got 2 yards a carry in that game. 2, which is twice what Texas got against Georgia. 1.1. Somebody's got to run the football to win on Saturday. I'm going to say it's Texas. I think I'm going to end up picking Texas to win this game, but that really stands out to me. That's why Clemson's different too. They are not as dynamic on offense as they have been. They used to be able to just shut you down, big plays, run the ball and all that. They don't have that exact team. As long as Texas keeps it clean, I think they can handle Clemson.
I know we got an abbreviated version of the show today. So, Chad, I want to ask you kind of off topic for a second.
Okay.
Your thoughts on Shedeur Sanders winning the Heisman? Was he the guy that got your vote?
Travis Hunter.
Excuse me. Travis Hunter. Apologize.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I could be old school guy and say the running back maybe needed it, but I like the freakishness of Travis Hunter. It's so unique. Also interesting that a true defensive player alone just can't win the Heisman, no matter what it is. If you play great defense, we'll give you a Heisman, but you got to do something else. You better do something else, Charles Woodson. You better do something else, Travis.
We got awards for you guys on over there. Like John, right. you can get one of those things over there. Not this one. It's funny how being one of the best quarterbacks in America doesn't necessarily qualify you to be in the Heisman Trophy race.
Right. It's so weird. It's like Manti Te'o, you're in the room. Hugh Green, for those old school fans, you're in the room. We're just not going to give you the award. But no, I would have gone with Hunter. Yeah, the snap count, Anwar, in 2024, and I know it's not the most physically demanding position in terms of contact on both sides, but still, with everything that it takes in terms of your work, your cardio, staying pliable, keeping yourself loose enough where you can go all out on pass routes and all out defending pass routes over and over and over all day. And you make those catches and you pick those kind of passes off. He's been amazing. And I was hoping when we got to midway, 3/4, I was hoping they would win enough that he could get it, and then ultimately they do. He kind of fit into that RG3, Johnny Manziel kind of Heisman area where you don't have to be on the absolute best team. You just need to be freakish enough.
Yeah.
Be freakish enough on like a 3. What'd they lose? 3 or 4?
Yeah, 3. I believe at least 3, yeah.
Because you remember RG3 in his year lost 3. Johnny's team lost 2 early, and then he got it together and just put up silly numbers, and it was like, well, I guess it's got to be. And then other guys lost and got out of the way. But with Hunter, it eventually felt like, man, unless Genty runs for like 3,500 yards, you're just gonna have to give it to the freak, man. It's cool to see, and that smile of his is just bigger than the world. And it was fun to watch. The speech was good. Dion was great. Great advertisement for Dion. And Boulder, my God. I hope he stays. I hope Colorado stays that interesting because of him. So yes, I would have gone with Hunter. Would you have done the same thing?
Yeah, I know. I said back in October, I thought Travis deserved to win it. I thought he was the best player in America. This is after like Milroe had that 1 week where he was the Heisman favorite after Georgia. And people were like, it's got to be Milroe. And then he was like, never mind. I just going to go ahead and exit from this conversation. I thought he was the dynamic, again, doing it both sides of the ball at that high of a level is fantastic. And I tell you what, could you imagine having a coach like Dion who's like, yeah, he don't need to practice. Like I just need him to be there, and to have a coach who understands, like, this is how you coach this kind of athlete, and this is how you get the best out of him. Don't worry about Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Just get your body recovered because you got to run a marathon on Saturday. Good for the program. Honestly, if I was North Carolina, I would have made Dion tell me no. Forget this Bill Belichick, experiment thing. Like, I don't need all that. I would have made Dion, you tell me no. We've got 100+ sitting here at North Carolina. Please tell us no. That's what I would have done if I was North Carolina. And it would have totally probably changed the trajectory of that program. Tell me no. That's how good Deion has been.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. We had a super chat come in while we were talking a little Heisman. Michael, $10 super chat. What's up, Michael? Quinn is the man, but I wouldn't mind seeing a bigger role for Arch in the red area. I thought we were going to see more of it after the A&M game, but it hasn't really happened. Anwar, this might be the most important thing, maybe not for this game, but certainly moving forward. Like, they've got to be better in the red zone. Give me your thought on Michael's idea here, because say what you want about the first play of overtime against Georgia, it did get 5 yards. And when you rush for 1.1, and I'll tell you about a play that got you 5, that's a big deal. So for you, how would you work this? Would it be Arch in the red zone? Would it be Arch just in like a short yardage here and there? What would you do with 16 in this game if you're Sark?
It's a tough one because unless you do some sort of play action, and if he's setting that up, then that's probably a good thing. I'm not a huge fan of running a guy out there, that dual threat quarterback where that's all they're going to do is run the ball. Right. At some point, agreed. I don't like it because it's just too obvious, and it's almost kind of a waste of a down for me. Unless you're going to have that guy throw the ball. And again, I get it. Maybe you're just trying to set it up, and maybe this is the setup for a play action to the point. They've got to get better in the red zone. Like it's not good. And then some of that's the play calling as well. I think sometimes when Sark gets down there in the red zone and get, the run play, that dive kind of up the middle, usually is pretty well read. Then they go into a second and obvious. And at that point, the teams are just pinning their ears back and they're rushing, they're rushing 7 or so. And then now all of a sudden, now you get sacked. And, now you're in third and obvious. And then, now you got a kicker who may or may not make it. Just quite honest with you. I know Bert Auburn, I always say kickers are 50-50 from any distance in college for me. I don't give a damn if it's an extra point. I don't trust kickers. Just don't. So then, and then you just, that's kind of where you're at that point. So I would definitely, I don't know if you want a bigger role for Arch in that regard, because then you're saying that you don't think Quinn is good enough to handle you in the red zone. Yeah. And I don't know how that affects your quarterback psyche going forward, where you're like, well, when we really need to score, we need to bring in this guy. I don't know from a quarterback psyche perspective that really helps you.
Yeah, Michael, thank you for the super chat. I think the discussion needs to be what can get you those yards you're not getting in the red zone? What gets you to the end zone, or what gets you into that drive? If it's 1st and 10 from the 20, from the 18, how do you get that 10 yards? I've not heard anybody throw out this idea the whole time, Anwar, but I keep thinking the same thing. Pick a route Quinn can throw really well and throw it to Arch. What about a swing to Arch? 2-back set, Arch and Wisner. That by itself will freak a defense out, and run Arch on a little wheel route. Quinn can throw that blindfolded, and now you get Arch Manning in space, and somebody's got to go out there and tackle that dude, and he's a pretty good runner. Yeah. Like, that's an idea that I've thought about. Obviously, everybody and their dog has thought about, what about let Arch just fake that handoff and rear up and throw to what would be a wide open Gunnar Helm? How open is Gunnar Helm going to be if Arch fakes a handoff? It's going to be like, remember the one, was it Kentucky, where Quinn couldn't get that ball back from the running back fast enough to throw it to Gunnar Helm? It's going to be, he'll be even more open than that. I always say it, Anwar, Sark's cute can kick people's ass. But when he gets in the red zone, he loses his cute. He stops being cute. That's the problem. For years, I would say it about Greg Davis. Chad, the problem with Greg Davis is he's too cute. Nope. It's that he's not cute enough. Same thing with Sark. The ideas go away. And we all get that stuff, right? Are you playing freewheeling, or have things tightened up? And he tightens up, and he runs boring runs on 1st and 10. and he just does boring stuff. Or, oh my
got
God,
a lot of fade routes, a lot of those fade routes too.
Let's
Chad.
just throw a fade. Wait, what are you doing? It's kind of a panic. No, I love a fade. Let's just no, we're just throwing fades. What about slants? No, forget slants. What about crossing routes, like middle of the field? No. Seam route, helm wide open. It's like he forgets and he tightens up. Whatever helps him loosen up in the red zone. That's what. If it's Arch, let it be Arch. Talk to Quinn. Talk to three. What do you like at the 18? It's 1st and 10 from the 18-yard line. What do you want? What do you like? What do you love? Tell me, because they don't look confident, Anwar. None of them do in the red zone. Quinn doesn't look confident. Sark doesn't call plays confidently. The running backs aren't looking great. And again, it could all just be you can't block Georgia, but that needs to change. So, Michael, the chatter, I'm with you on ideas. If it needs to be Arch, that's fine. They've got to come up with red zone ideas. They have to do it.
Yeah, I think what you described, Chad, is a guy that doesn't want to turn the ball over in the red zone.
Mm-hmm.
And so, obviously going across the middle of the field is more dangerous than it is going to the sides. And so I think he's more, hey, I'm gonna put the ball. I'd rather put the ball in a place where either my receiver can make a play or it's going to be out of bounds. But I don't want to do it over the middle, have it tipped, all that kind of stuff. Like, it just seems to be a verse that sometimes you'll get that. Sometimes you'll get a little bit of that.
That fade has never worked, though. Though I'm trying to think of what fade worked in the red zone. The one that was Arch, though. The one Arch threw to Jonte Cook, wasn't that like a slot fade? Like, that's the other thing they don't do. You want to slot fade it? Give me a little safer throw. That's the same kind of throw. They're throwing just that basic kind of old school fade, and it just never feels confident to me.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you run the right slot fade, my God, Isaiah Bond became a legend off a slot fade on that 4th and 31 thing. Run something like that. Get helm. There's a lot of things you could do. Throw that swing, throw a swing pass to Juan Davis. Trust me, he'll be open. Nobody's thinking about him. Only I am.
Oh, poor Juan.
Hey, 81, I love you. I've been saying it all year. They throw that swing pass to you, you're going to be all alone, and nobody wants to tackle you. Nobody wants to tackle you. It'd be a great idea from about the 8-yard line. If they had 1st and goal at the 8 onward, that's the play. Swing pass out to the right to Juan Davis. He will dump truck anybody. That's the play. That's the play. You heard it here first.
I heard it. And if it happens, then we know Sark was watching the show. He was like, "Oh snap! I have this 400-page book. I never thought of this page." Thank you, Chad Hastings. You saved my job.
That's the cute. See, that's what you got to do, Sark. You just keep dialing up that cute. Find that one play they're not thinking about. That's the one.
Well, Chad, I can't be too cute. I got some player availability at 10 o'clock, and I've got Sark at 11. So, which means I got to get in the car and get the hell out of here, Chad.
Cool.
Overreaction Monday. You want to close us out, Chad?
We'll do it. Yeah, we got House Divided coming up. I'm crossing my fingers. I haven't even communicated with Jeff Ketchum today. I'm crossing my fingers he's well enough to do the show. We'll see. Or it may be me babbling.
Okay, you need to come up with a plan B.
I will definitely come up with a plan B. And I'll tell you what it is. It's Eric Singleton. He's visiting today. I want to talk some portal today. There's been some interesting portal developments over the weekend. Part of it is literally House Divided stuff because that Purdue tight end that visited Texas also went to Texas A&M. Are we in a world where the Purdue tight end is playing House Divided against each other? Maybe. We'll talk about that at 12 today on House Divided.
Micah Hudson? Did he commit to Texas A&M as well?
He did. The Aggies got Micah Hudson out of the transfer portal. That won't be drama at all. Don't worry. No problem.
What could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? Football with Friends at 6 tonight as well. We'll even do some outsiders for you tonight at 8:30. Start breaking down that Texas Clemson matchup. Anwar's headed to the Sark presser. There's player availability. There's Sark pressers. Keep it at orangebloods.com. Let me throw up a code for you real quick to remind you. We'll add a little orange down there. Yeah, orangebloods.com. All the content, all that you're going to need leading up to the game Saturday at 3 o'clock, Texas and Clemson. And don't forget one just quick mention before we get out of here. Come see us at TCH Social Austin 183 and Anderson Mill. That is where we will be. That bad beat bacon is waiting on the table for you, and that screen is huge. We'll have the NFL games dialed up too. Don't worry about it. Texans fans, come on out and join us. Steeler fans, Jason Sukumel's one. My wife is one, and they're both going to be there watching their Steelers and watching the Longhorns and Clemson. So come on out and see us. It is going to be a good time at TCH Social Austin. For Anwar Richardson, I'm Chad Hastings. Thank you all for liking, subscribing, and getting your notifications. Jeff Ketchum, get to feeling well soon, because I'm hoping you can join me for a 12 o'clock show. We'll see.